All right, the last scale I'll introduce to you in this unit is known as the melodic minor. And as you'll discover, there are three forms of the minor, two of which we covered last semester. The natural minor, which is when there's no leading tone used to help stabilize it. That's just the minor scale that follows the pattern whole, half, whole, half, whole. But then we have the minor harmonic minor, where we raise scale degree 7, one chromatic semitone higher to create a leading tone. In essence, te becomes T. And the distance between lay, the lowered 6th scale degree, and T, the raised 7th, equals a whole plus a half step distance. And that sounds like a minor third, but as we know in the scale, that is spelled as an unusually large stepwise motion, or second, and that's called the augmented second. And that presents a problem for the minor because that augmented second, like the tritone, is a very distinct, almost jarring sound and can create problems when trying to craft smooth lyrical melodies. So again, the minor mode in its harmonic form is not only difficult to control because of re to lay being a tritone, lay to T is a harmonic augmented second, and that creates another little wrinkle on your way to trying to craft a smooth lyrical melody. So it may be helpful to think of the harmonic minor as a path. So if you visualize the harmonic minor as a path through both the major and the parallel minor scales, you may have more success understanding how this all is working. So remember, the harmonic minor uses the darker musical color brought on by the modal scale degrees, may and lay, but keeps the stabilizing effect of the leading tone. And so let's go ahead and do a very clear example. This time we'll do it in the key of D major. So here would be D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. And there's that half step distance between T and Do, because that's where we know the half step is. When we go to the parallel minor, it's D, E, F natural, because that's one of our modal scale degrees. G, A, B becomes B flat for one of our modal scale degrees, and C sharp becomes C. That's our other modal scale degree. And now we have a whole step at the end, and that just doesn't stabilize the scale the same way C sharp to D did. D has a tough time feeling like it's the tonic, the first and last note of that scale. It's just not as stable. So here we go, the path of harmonic minor. Do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So it goes and grabs that T up there, and out is C natural, in is C sharp. Da, 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 da. When it goes down, D, C sharp, B flat, A. I realize I may not be on a D. I just chose any given pitch to demonstrate what a harmonic minor sounds like when I sing it. So here's the issue, though. That augmented second between the B flat and the C sharp. If you chart it out on a piano or a note garden, you'll discover that although it looks like a step because they're two letters away, so it's a second, there are actually 3 half steps in that distance, making it sound like a minor third. But it's spelled as an unusually large second. That's known as the augmented second. And that's just what happens when you stretch that distance out between the two. All right, so that makes it stable. There's no question that we have landed on Do. But it creates a very distinct and jarring effect between lay and T. Another way to think about the harmonic minor is that when you compare it to the parallel major, the harmonic minor only uses 2 of the modal scale degrees, may and lay. So if you look on the way up, we went do, re, mi, fa, sol, lay, and then T was left as it was in the original major. So another way of visualizing this is to think of 1, 2, flat 3 when compared to the major, 4, 5, flat 6 when compared to the major, and 7 stayed where it was for the major. So T stays as it was for the parallel major. This is often how a lot of pop and jazz musicians begin to start thinking of their scales. They practice their major scales, and then when they think about doing the harmonic minor, they just lower the third and sixth scale degrees. And notice in this context, the flat is not necessarily an instruction to add a flat. It just means to lower it by one chromatic semitone. So for example, in the case of C sharp, if I was to do a flat 7, I would go to merely C natural rather than C flat, because I have to pass through the natural before I can go through the flat. But the process is flatting the note. I'm lowering it. C sharp lowered one chromatic semitone, C natural. Lowered again, C flat. So it's just an instruction to lower, not necessarily to add a flat. If it's a sharp note, we lower it by adding the by taking away the sharp first. Again, that's just a way in which pop and jazz musicians often think about these scales. All right, that leaves the third form of the minor scale, which is known as the melodic minor. And in the next video, we'll talk about how the melodic minor works.